Everybody, we're back. This is the CHGO Sky Podcast, part of CHGO Sports and the ALLCITY Sports Network. And this is the CHGO Sky Show. We stretch out that because we got 2 W's in a row. I'm Chris Pennant, here with the man, the myth, and the legend, Stephen Garner, and our producer on the wheels of steel today, Greg Braggs Jr. Just because it's a junior doesn't mean it's a less than. How you feeling?
Feeling good. How you doing?
That's big brags to you.
Oh.
Big brags to you.
My bad.
Big bags brags.
Big
play,
bags, man.
you know, if you ever play bags with me,
Yeah, there you go.
it'd be over for you. They call me Big Bags Brags
Are
for
you
sure.
about to be on the circuit? Are you about to be on that ACL circuit?
Yeah, Braxton Jones. He won. he won one over the weekend. I saw.
I was out somewhere. The Chicagoland Spinners, they need help. They were underwhelming. So we could.
Yeah, I don't spin it. I flop it up there. But I can play.
They make the names the way they.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some marketing said they made these names, but seriously, they need an actual person from Chicago on there so that they could get some better records.
But I'm like Larry Bird or MJ because my game is the shit talking. That's what I do.
That's 50% of bags, honestly.
Yeah.
This is the CHGO Sky Show where we're also talking about some shit talk for the Sky because they finally got over the hump, defeated the Indiana Fever on Sunday, and coupled with a win against Dallas, has them 2 wins in their last 3. Hit the like for that. Hit the like for us. Hit the like for yourselves because we're glad to have you in. Steven, it was an atmosphere on Sunday, to say the least.
Yeah, it's not even about. It's quite literally as close to a playoff style of environment that you could possibly replicate in the regular season. And we'll also add the context, especially with today being the Commissioner's Cup championship game. I'm curious to see if that is even close to paralleling with the environment we saw on Sunday because, yeah, it took it a step further than the game in Indiana that preceded it, and then the one even before that, the very first one of the regular season that preceded the one from the weekend before last. It's just continuing to add up. And in the third rendition, we saw one that, I don't know if it's going to see a better basketball environment until playoff time officially starts.
That's saying something because as much as the league, as much as people in our position, as much as other outlets, just people on the street have hyped up the Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese dynamic ever since college, for these 3 games to have somehow raised the stakes each time with teams who are battling for the 8th spot in the 12-team league playoffs, that says something about the quality of the play, the improvement in the quality of the play for both teams. And I know that's something that you like to get into, but we have a lot to talk about, and we got
2 weeks.
We got to maximize our time for sure. But that first and foremost, 2-1 in the last 3, the Sky, and Angel Reese, a huge part of that. And she's been saying since the Sky lost to the Washington Mystics 83-81 5 games ago, that she had a conversation with Tina Charles. It was Angel's worst output of the season in terms of shooting, I believe in terms of points as well. Only 3 for 10 from the field that day. But she said she talked to Tina Charles and got some really good advice from her.
She did. I'm not sure if we got the clip ready to kind of play for everybody, but I had an opportunity to ask her about that exact moment post-game from that loss to the Atlanta Dream. Hey, Angel. I think you might have answered my first question, which was I was going to ask, what were you speaking with Tina about post-game?
She was playing all. She was talking to me all game, like asking me, did I know the play? And I said, yeah, I watched the play, and I know my personnel on you, and I'm going to be aggressive with you. And she was like, I was doing a great job about that. So she just pushed me. Obviously, she sees greatness in me, and being able to kind of pass that torch to me when her career is over. And I've always respected her and her game and what she's doing. So to be able to have a legend like that and a historic player like that to be a leader for me, not even on my same team, is something that's really important.
She has quite literally the longest laundry list of players that preceded her or that are elder statesmen in the league at the moment that she's garnered the respect of. They've loudly, publicly communicated how they appreciate her approach to the game, her disposition, how she doesn't allow for all the things that she attracts off the court to throw her focus off on the court. And that to be her age and to have that level of composure and balance of life and sport and career in multiple contexts of life. She's a very special human being, and she, heavy is the head that wears the crown, and she wears hers extremely well.
That's the wild thing about Angel, and we've talked about it already. Her poise and discipline, as you said, but for this being 15 games in her rookie season, to some degree, the shining of a light on the college game that's come in after NIL, after increased coverage by the major networks, probably helped in that regard to handling pressure, handling media attention. But this is still the pros, where you're not only going to have even more attention on it, especially now with coming in as a heralded rookie, coming in against your foil, but also you're playing against tougher competition. So to get that respect from a player like Tina Charles, who is the second leading scorer in league history, who is an all-world type player, who's seen just about everything you could possibly see, I think that speaks volumes and is translated to Angel's play. And I know we've got that graphic on her list, just the change that she has made from her first 10 games of the season to the last 5. Now that wasn't that those 5 games weren't after that loss to Atlanta, but in the last 5 games, she has made major strides with efficiency, with rebounding, and with shooting from the foul line as well.
Yeah. I wish I could attribute the person that replied to when I initially posted the post-game conversation I had with her that we just watched. But they liken Tina Charles' position in the W space similarly to Hakeem Olajuwon in terms of players likely gravitating to her for the footwork, the processing of how to play in the post and how to play with that type of feel and that sticky footwork that comes with it. Like I said, I wish I could attribute it because that was about one of the most accurate cross basketball analogies or comparisons that I've seen that actually like made legitimate sense. And you can certainly see Tina having that impact on the players. She's had interactions with A'ja Wilson, obviously, and of course, as with any other post player that's played in the league recently. And it's just that type of elder statesman and rookie or younger player type of relationship is something that can really be something that changes the look of things in terms of how W players look at players that are coming after them versus how it looks on the other side of basketball. And just kind of looking at that and specifically with Angel Reese through that lens, the footwork has been so much better, and it was already at a certain level that was above well ahead of the curve for a rookie post player. That's usually one of the toughest things to kind of translate to the W level. She had that already, and it's already taking more strides in the right direction to truly feeling and looking like it's elite on film. And the way that she's able to play with different angles, the way she can play from the elbow or the block, the speed at which she's playing with, sometimes she goes quick, sometimes she changes it up, throws a jab step in and then goes. Sometimes she gets some body contact and then goes off of the separation that she creates off of that. It's just the blending of all of that processing, and I feel like it really speaks to her attention to detail. And we just saw the quote where she was speaking to her paying attention to the details and watching film, and just generally working with one of their skill development coaches, David, on the footwork and the reading of actions from the post. I mean, we're seeing all of the progress in spades, and I think maybe the biggest thing that's standing out to me with Angel is the play through contact. That was something I wasn't sure how she would integrate into the W level just because of the stature and the needing to add muscle and all of that stuff coming from the collegiate level to the W level. She's got 12 and-1s this season. That's second in the WNBA to only A'ja Wilson. And I believe A'ja has 14 and-1s. So for her to be in that stratosphere in terms of operating and playing through contact with consistency and converting on a lot of those, that says where she's at right now. She's elite already.
Yeah, you brought it up, and I'll pull it up here on the screen. Angel Reese on the advice she's received from Tina Charles. I watch film. I sit and watch my game. Tina Charles told me I got as much time as I need around the basket, and that's what I took today. I took as much time as I needed to finish around the basket. I still have room for improvement. I missed 4 shots.
And that encapsulates Angel completely. You know, as a basketball player. Yep. She talked about the advice that she's gotten. She takes that to heart. She's working on her game, as you talked about, both on her own and from film watching and with the Sky player development coaches. Mm-hmm. And at the end, she's like, I wasn't perfect today. I missed 4 shots. And I honestly think she was 7 for 10 from the field, even unless she was talking about field goals and free throws, because she wants to be perfect. She wants to be as good as she possibly can be, and like that logarithmic curve from math class, she wants to get as close to the top line as she can get, and that's what you're really seeing over these last 2 games. The ascension of Angel Reese that we've seen over those last 5 games is I don't know how many rookies that you would expect to see that from, especially rookies under a microscope like she's been. Keita Love Sports, that game on Sunday was electric in the building. Angel took a huge step forward in her development as a player. And those and ones, she's not just getting them what we saw earlier in the season where she would get close to the basket, maybe throw one up, get the rebound, and then in the scramble get the board, get the shot up, and get fouled. Mm-hmm. We saw after Nalissa Smith gave her the too small, after she had that turnaround jumper in the lane, came right back, Angel came right back, got the ball on the elbow, and then took 2 steps, a dribble down low, finished high through Nalissa Smith for the contact. And that started a stretch where Indiana did not score for 4 minutes. Angel was getting buckets with the back to the basket. Yep. She was getting baskets off the dribble. Mm-hmm. She was being played through. And the bucket to give the Sky the lead was an Angel Reese play back to the basket, dribble, pivoted over her right shoulder, went across the lane, up with the left hand. She's doing this with both hands. She's doing this in multiple ways. And again, I'll be up front. I wanted Rickea Jackson. I did. I don't mind saying it. I don't mind being wrong. I thought that she was a better fit in terms of offensive replacement. Angel Reese she's picking up that offensive slack that the Sky lost. And I won't be surprised if she averages 16 and 10 the rest of the way.
Well, when you guys talk about getting over the hump, I mean, whether this is a media-produced rivalry, the amount of celebrity appeal and the fanfare and the amount of the prices for the tickets to go to this game.
Don't talk about the ticket price.
Make it the rivalry, that the hype, that aura you feel when you walk in the building. And when you talk about this team getting over the hump, they're down 15, in the third quarter. They're down 12 twice in the fourth quarter, I think with 8 minutes to go almost. Mm-hmm. And you saw them in the previous 2 matchups come back in a couple games, but then fall short, make a couple key mistakes or a foul or letting them get to the free throw line that made the comeback fall just short. But in this game, they didn't make those mistakes down the stretch. And that to me was the biggest sign of the growth. All those little details that, take a 15-point comeback, they were capable of doing, along with, the X's and O's standpoint. It's about not making mistakes and giving the other team opportunity to get easy buckets or easy free throws.
Perfectly said, Rex. And those games, especially when you're mounting or you're coming back from a deficit, sometimes it takes all your energy as a collective to just get to that point, and then you have no more gas after that, and then you see the separation through the finish line. They had enough to get back into the game, and then they had an extra gear in addition to that to take back the lead, play back and forth with that lead, and then ultimately finish with a point in differential being in the positive, winning by 1. That speaks to just the level of execution for this team. I think the execution piece on both ends of the floor is something that they didn't have consistently. They might have had it on defense but didn't have it on offense, and then they might find a little pocket on offense and not have it on defense. But they found a pocket in that particular game where they were able to marry the defense, which is their identity, the defense first, with their offense, and that allowed for them to play the final 8-ish minutes of that game on their terms. And they're a team that when they're able to play the game on their terms, things look a lot more different, and the general flow of the game just completely can shapeshift and turn tides at the drop of a dime. And at the spearhead of all of that was the one and only Angel Reese. And I got more to speak on with Angel after the break, but we got to pay the bills.
I saw something on Reddit that I was surprised to see and not surprised at the same time. Well, before we come to that, though, let's take a short break and talk about our friends at Coors Light. We're media personalities, and sometimes media personalities feel some people are in opposition to that. Sometimes questions that you ask get called clown questions, and sometimes your outlet gets disrespected. And when that happens, it's a time to reach for an ice cold Coors Light and just chill. Just lay back and chill. When you get worked up, when you have a game like you had on Sunday where there's a lot of energy in the building going back and forth, I didn't have the opportunity to, but it would have been a great time to hit the concession stand, get that silver bullet. When you see the Rockies are blue, it's ice cold, cold filtered, never frozen Coors Light. Absolute best thing to reach for this summer when you're watching Sky games at home, when you're watching Sky games with your friends, when you're watching Sky games with your family, when you're watching Sky games at Wintrust Arena right there on 22nd, when you hit up the spots after the Sky game to kick it with your friends and talk about how the Sky ran off 5-6 wins in a row, something like that. That's when you reach for a Coors Light. And if you go to Instacart and type in CoorsLight.com/CHGO Dunk, you can get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. So make the most out of the times you choose chill. Choose Coors Light. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And now it's time for my favorite spot of the entire show, Shady Rays, man. I love it. The funny thing is I wear sunglasses very sparingly, so I got to deal with all this in the face, and I'm just like, my vision's bad. It's going to get worse. It's whatever. I'm getting older. But that's why you get Shady Rays. They're quality shades. They're built to last. They won't break the bank. They won't be expensive as those Ray-Bans that your parents and grandparents had to buy back in the Baywatch days. And they're independent, too. They're not a chain. There's no corporate people at the top going through marketing focus groups and making them palatable to the customers. They're making sunglasses for you, for me, for us. They're rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. They have hundreds of options to choose from. And they probably have a style in your favorite team's colors. So if you're trying to get that blue and gold, you can get those CHGO Sky Blue and Gold Shady Rays if you want. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't love the shades, you can exchange them for a new pair, return them worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk. Exclusively for all of our listeners here on the CHGO Sky Podcast and CHGO Sports, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to ShadyRays.com and use that code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. I'm going to say it again, 35% off polarized sunglasses. So the shades that are already not going to put you out of pocket are going to be even more affordable. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Shady Rays, proud sponsor of CHGO Sky and CHGO Sports. Man, you know what? Let's talk about Angel Reese first, but we got a lot of good quotes. Thanks to everybody for listening. Once again, hit that like for you, for us, for yourself. I was checking Reddit because I was trying to find that Dana Evans piece that we talked about last year. Yeah. But somebody came up and made a point that Angel Reese right now is on track to break the Sky's franchise single-season rebounding record. Now, we always have to look at these with an asterisk because the season has increased in length over the last 10 years. But Sylvia Fowles had 369 boards in 2013. Angel at her current pace is averaging 10.2 a game. She's at 11.2, I believe, over the last 5. Actually, 14.2 over the last 5. Yeah. And at that rate, she would pull down 408 total boards for the season, which would not only break the single-season franchise mark, but would break the rookie rebounding mark and the league rebounding mark. Again, you have to put these into the context of a longer season. The 10.2 wouldn't necessarily put her on that pace at a shorter length. But if you proportionalize it to the 36-game season and the 34-game season, it would still be top 20. So big ups to Boardy McBoard on Reddit for pointing that out. And that just says so much about Angel. Not only, as we saw in that graphic, her propensity for boards, but she's been dominating the defensive glass as of late.
She's just been dominating everything as of late. Like, I mean, you can't put her in one box. It's the leadership vocally, the leadership in doing things, the leadership in just how she goes about, like I said, wearing the crown that she's been given, that she's earned as well, in addition to the one that she's been given. It's different, man. And if we could get that graphic back up, Brax, just notice the difference in scoring volume, notice the difference in rebounding volume, notice the difference in efficiency from the field, and then, of course, even more so, the true shooting percentage. She's doing all of these things and just taking things to another level. And it goes to the piece that we spoke to on our last episode that no other rookie's game is translated comprehensively as well as Angel's. You look at Angel's college game. She was one of the best defenders in the nation. She was also one of the best rebounders in the nation. She was also the best offensive rebounder in the nation. What is she doing on the W level? All three of those things in one. In addition to efficiency bump and scoring and just exploring and how to do things in a different way that are going to be more conducive for her to be effective and efficient with the ways that she operates on the floor. And she's also buying into the way that she's being featured in their offense as well, past just the defense and past just the offensive rebounding, to make it more functional, not just for herself, but for Camila Cardoso, which is a tandem in terms of relationship on the court we'll be speaking to a little bit later. But the way that Angel's been selfless in opening up her box of skill and doing things that she may not have done on consistency in college, being more adaptable and doing those things on the W level, is opening up everything for everybody else, and she's becoming one of the best players in the W already.
It's funny to say that because, again, it's 15 games deep. It's hard. I know I keep saying it, but I just want to keep reminding myself that this is not a polished veteran. This is not even the halfway point of the season yet. We are not at the All-Star break yet. By the way, Angel is number 7 in All-Star voting, so get the vote out. Get out the vote. You know Chicago. Vote early, vote often. But the free throw shooting percentage that's part of that true shooting.
88.
I think she's only missed 4 of her last 20 attempts from the line. Mm-hmm. And remember the first game where she was 2 for 8 from the free throw line. She is a player who succeeds by getting to the foul line, putting up points that way. So you have to shoot a high percentage from the foul line. And she's taken it upon herself to improve her shooting from there. And nobody's pointed this out in the comments yet, but I saw somebody say it, I think, online. Where you get that free throw percentage up, that's when you start improving your outside jump shot. And we've seen Angel be ready to hoist a couple of those, even if they haven't gone in. But that's something that she's working on as well. But I love that part about the rebounding, how she's increased her rebounding, but only having a slight decrease in offensive boards, 4.8 to 4.6. Yep. And she's really commanding the defensive glass. And I don't think it's a function of having Camila Cardoso on the floor with her and pulling players away from her spot. She's going up and outworking taller players, bigger players, stronger players for the boards. She has a little bit of that Rodman in her. She has a little bit of that Tina Charles in her that you're going to have to really go after this. You're going to have to team rebound when Angel Reese is on the floor. When you add Camila Cardoso to that, when you add Kennedy Carter to that, when you add Marina Mabrey to that, that's when the team gets tough. That's when you have to make sure that your shots are high percentage or they're not going in and you're not getting a second chance at it.
And everything that you said is very, very accurate. The last thing I'll just mention in addition to that with Angel, looking at the rebounding, we talked about her getting on the defensive glass as well as the offensive glass. 9.6 defensive rebounds over the last 5 games, which is up from the 4.8 that she averaged in the handful of games prior to June 9th. She's doing that while also taking on the multitude of defensive matchups that she's taking on.
Because Elizabeth Williams is out now.
But also she was taking on some of those matchups in a versatility lens, even when E. Will was in the lineup. Like, you look at them going against the Connecticut Sun. You got DeWanna Bonner. Yep. You got Alyssa Thomas. You got Brianna Jones. She was guarding DeWanna Bonner. And then when they get in the switching, then she's guarding either one of the other 2 posts that I mentioned. So she's not always located right at the basket to grab those rebounds. Sometimes she's on the perimeter with DeWanna Bonner in isolation. She gets up a shot, and she has to crash from an angle that's different from just being 2 feet from the block or already in the restricted area as that shot goes up. So where you could picture a coach telling a player, just turn, get into the hip, and push your rear end back the other direction to create separation and space to get the glass, to get the board. That doesn't apply when you're coming from the three-point line to crash and get rebounds sometimes, or you're coming from the corner to crash and get a rebound. And those little things really add up. And I think sometimes people kind of pigeonhole her into just being a really good offensive rebounder. Right. You can't just put her to solely offensive rebounding when she's grabbing defensive rebounds at the rate that she is. So just her comprehensive game, the way you can tell she's paying great attention to the details with watching film and with studying herself and not being infatuated with the highlights and things like that. She's looking at her weaknesses more than her strengths. And you could tell that she's learning from the losses and learning from the moments where somebody might have got the best of her on a stretch of minutes or on a possession basis and growing from it. That's things you really can't teach. A player has to have that in them. And she's as self-driven and as much of a perfectionist as any rookie I've seen in recent memory, quite honestly.
And we had a great crop of rookies this season that have that pedigree. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later in the show. I want to bring up that Key to Love Sports quote, Braggs, the comment that we got. If I'm the Sky's GM, my focus is to get Kennedy Carter locked in for a long-term deal ASAP. Her, Camilla, and Angel need to be the primary focus of the team's strategy going forward. Thank you, Keita. Thank you for loving sports. Shout out to you, because we do too. That brings me to the next segment where we're talking about the starting lineup change. And I know you pointed this out. I pointed this out. And we actually both requested almost the same graphic for this one. Since the Sky changed their starting lineup, put Kennedy Carter and Lindsey Allen into it, their offensive rating has increased 6.4 points. Their net rating is improved by 3.3, which means that they were a negative net rating prior to that and they're positive. Their assist percentage, the amount of possessions that end in an assist, has improved, and their assist-to-turnover ratio has improved. Now, that one looks smaller because it's more of a number that's probably going to be between 1 and 2. The best teams might get up to 3. Think of that Washington Mystics team from 2019 that had Emma Meesman and Elena Delle Donne on it with Christy Tolliver. Mm-hmm. But that 1.83 assist-to-turnover ratio is a great improvement. And Teresa Weatherspoon talked about it in the press conference. We don't have a clip of it, but she made a point of saying how important Lindsey Allen has been to this team, both in her play in the second unit and as a starter. And we saw it on Sunday. Marina Mabry got 2 early fouls. Diamond DeShields came in. Let's not forget this. Diamond DeShields came in and was hounding Caitlin Clark, had 3 deflections and a chase down block on Caitlin. And then Lindsey Allen played a good amount of time on Caitlin as well. And it was I wanted to ask the coach about this because it was more of like a let's play, rotate our guards on that defensive matchup. But Lindsey Allen, late in the game, not only took on that challenge of guarding Caitlin Clark, and she got bowled over 2 or 3 times like it always happens to Lindsey, and she never gets a call, but she also steadied their offense. Mm-hmm. She worked the ball around in the perimeter. She had that key entry pass and assist to Angel Reese that actually gave the Sky the lead that they would not relinquish. So I was wondering how it was going to be. We talked about the change of pace that she could offer from Dana Evans, but Lindsey Allen, as long as they go forward and it's successful, you're going to see Lindsey Allen in the starting lineup as a lead guard.
Yeah, there's a certain few types of ways that the Sky have to operate, especially looking in the half court, that we kind of hinted at early in the regular season, or early in the preseason rather, just because of the lack of shooting, the lack of three-point shooting prowess that they have, and how teams are going to look to load up in gaps and guard them. That gives you a little bit less freedom in terms of space to operate with. And that means you have to be more detail-oriented. You have to be a lot more meticulous with how you're shape-shifting the shell of the defense to then work your way to different angles for entry passes or driving angles, or to manipulate the defense to generate looks on the backside of an action. Lindsey Allen is the only traditional point guard on this roster. And I felt like there was a lot of, I'll preface it with, I know I got a lot of mentions on Twitter during free agency because everybody, including myself, was expecting Skylar Diggins-Smith, insert
Natasha
above average
Cloud.
to elite level. Yeah, there were a handful of names that a lot of people were thinking that the Sky would at least have a chance at getting. Jordan Kennedy could be added to that mix as well.
Deja
Clarendon, they were definitely in there. Those little things. They ended up selling on Lindsey Allen. I don't know if Lindsey was their first choice by any stretch, but I think they got the right person to go with this particular roster because you don't necessarily things wouldn't fit the way that they do with Lindsey now, the way that it might have with someone else. And I feel like honestly all of those point guards ended in a situation where they're being optimized right now, including Lindsey. So I think looking at how things kind of work themselves out, Lindsey, the floor setting, the understanding of actions, the timing of when she's going to certain actions, you can tell there's a level of control and string pulling from the floor general position. It just hits different for their offense. And it's just really it's really changing the feel of their offense. And you could talk about Will not being in there. You could talk about Marina not having the shooting success that she saw early in the regular season. For those entities to have been shapeshifted in a sense, you could also talk about Kennedy being in the starting lineup instead of Diamond. And they still see a bump up in the offensive rating and the offensive efficiency. it just speaks to the impact that she has. And she's playing point guard not just on offense, but also on defense, which we'll get to next.
And that's the thing. 9 offensive fouls drawn. I'm pretty sure that's tops on the team. And that's something that the Sky have not, they don't really get from anybody else who's willing to stand in there, take charges, or play defense in a way that they're going to draw those little chicken wings or those little hooks. Mm-hmm. And that's something that Lindsey Allen brings to the table. Let's take a quick
love chicken wings.
Let's take a quick break in here and talk about Sunnyside, our sponsor. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. They have everything you need to elevate your summer. One-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. They have an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. So no more of that 90s cannabis that your uncles were getting. No more of that stuff that was just like one or two things. It's like you had the indoor and the outdoor. Nah, we got variety nowadays. And this is Illinois' favorite dispensary. Steve laughing over here. This is Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in the city, in Wrigleyville and River North, and the suburbs, Champaign, South Beloit. Shout out to them. I'm traveling up to Madison every couple weeks, so I'm a frequent stopper in South Beloit, and more. And if you're just starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands that we know you'll love, like Good News and Mindy's. And if you're a pro, you'll love Cresco and Florical's incredible quality and consistent products. And it's easy to order online as well, and we're here to help in store. New for the summer is Good News Tea Time disposable vape. So if you're getting out to the CHGO Classic, head up that Tea Time and disposable vape beforehand, not on the course, beforehand. So get your focus in. Head to sunnyside.shop and use that code HICHGO at checkout for 35% off favorite brands like Cresco, Good News, and more to elevate your first purchase. Again, that's HICHGO at checkout for 35% off. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every single day. Only for ages 21 and over or Illinois medical card holders. And now let's go to CDJR, our favorite dealership out in Fox Lake, who's got you set up for the summertime, and make them your number one draft pick when you are finding your next vehicle. This June, shop Chryslers, Dodges, Jeeps, and Rams at Ray CDJR in Fox Lake. And during the Make This the Summer event, find the perfect vehicle and score huge savings for yourself. For a limited time, lease the new 2024 Jeep Wrangler Willys 4XC for only $419 a month, or shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. Again, we're trying to save you money every single time we talk about this. Let the amazing team at Ray CDJR help you land the perfect vehicle at the perfect price, because with Ray's Price Promise, the numbers that you're hearing now on this ad when you check on their website are the same prices you can expect to shop in-store and online. No hidden fees, no changing, no add-ons, no bait and switch, no okie doke, none of that. If you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. They are the only team that we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake, and if you mention CHGO online or in-store, you'll get a free oil change at the service center. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com. Serving the community since 1963. My fault. I got you.
Let's do it.
I got you on the next one. Serving the community since.
They quizzed me so many times on, what did you say? What did you say?
1963.
Yeah. They quizzed me so many times on Bears that I'm ready for it now.
I didn't know that. I was just going. I was like, you know what? I think he's got it. Man, we talked about a lot that's gone on in these last couple of weeks. I know mainly the Sky have gotten that better record. Region Rev in the house from Gary, of course. This is Erica, our friend Erica from PHNX. Steven, you got a shout out from Eli earlier, said he loved you on the PHNX Mercury show. We got a lot of great comments in the chat today, and we love having all of you in here. So as always, hit the like for us, for yourselves, for everybody out there. Oh, we got a good one here. David Snyder, Shoes Flops Fans. That's a very interesting username. But that game was fixed. Fever coach did not even let Caitlin any scoring plays. Then the creepy hug to the other coach after the game was like, yeah, I'll let you win this, sweetie. So obvious. This is what happens when sports betting takes over the world. I'm going to just say that. I'm not against sports betting, but I think people get a little bit too tuned into the possibility of cream, cash ruling everything around them. Let's say that.
Well, and I think the other thing, too, is like people are like, oh, the coach didn't draw up plays for Caitlin Clark to score. No, you got to give the Sky some credit here. They did everything they could to bracket her in the fourth quarter, and so she was doing the right thing in a basketball standpoint, making the right play and making the right passes, and her teammates weren't knocking it down. And that's what you do if Caitlin Clark is known for being a sniper. You're going to see if the rest of her teammates are going to beat you. And if not, you're not going to counter off of that. And they did a great job defensively of forcing the Fever to try to figure somebody else out to have the ball in their hands at the end of the game. You can say what you want about the coaching for the Indiana Fever, and maybe she could have got a little more creative. But then when you're saying that too strongly, you're not giving the Sky enough credit for the defensive job they did in the fourth quarter.
Correct. And I think the plot of saying that Caitlin didn't have plays drawn up for her in any point of the stretch of a game, she's quite literally the point guard.
Yeah.
The only person that's guaranteed to touch the ball on any given play is the point guard. Caitlin dribbles the ball 50,000 times a game. Like, that's her job. She's initiating the offense. So if she's decided, it's a decision for her to not take a shot. It's not that she's not having a play drawn up for her.
But when she doesn't have the ball in her hands offensively and she's trying to work a backdoor screen and come around a curl, they were fighting through those screens. They were making life difficult on the Fever to run those plays smoothly. And when things get jammed up, players then there's a clock in your head. And when the play isn't being ran the way you've practiced it, then you audible to something else. And that's what the Sky were doing. They were muddying things up and not making it clean on the Fever to run the sets they wanted to run.
Yeah, and it was a 1-point win. Aaliyah Boston hit a 3 to cut it to 1 with more than enough time on the clock for the Fever to run a play. But you're exactly right. They were switching on screens. They were fighting through screens, and this is where Marina had an underrated game because she didn't score. Marina was still guarding Caitlin a good amount of the time in the second half. She was primarily on Christy Wallace, but when they had to switch, Marina was switching on to Caitlin. Lindsay Allen was on Caitlin. And if they had to switch between those two, they made a very good point of putting themselves in the right place to either tag and recover or switch through screens or fight through screens. And that's what won them the game, even more or as much as the inspired play of Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso, who was controlling the defensive boards as well. Their defense down the stretch got them the game. Indiana was up 82-70, and they finished with 87 points. Over a 6.5 minute span, they scored 5 points. 3 of those were on that 3. 2 of those with an Alyssa Smith basket. Alyssa Smith did have another bucket in there. But you hold a team to 5 points, a team that had won, 4 in a row, 5 in a row before that? Mm-hmm. You're doing something right defensively.
The size that the Sky have, it's a war of attrition, and by the end of the game, the Fever looked tired. That was the other aspect of it, too.
Yep, and I think it's like when people look at the Sky roster, the first thing they're thinking of is the size advantage they have in the post with obviously Camilla and Angel. But I can't emphasize enough through film on Twitter, through my writing work, through my stuff on YouTube, through talking over this platform, the versatility that these two players have. It's not the 1990s. It's not even the early 2000s. It's not even the mid 2000s anymore. You can't just get away with your bigs only being comfortable operating on offense within 10 feet of the basket and operating on defense within 10 feet of the basket. You have to be comfortable defending in space. At the context of everything that Caitlin Clark is in terms of shifting a defensive shell from going to at the three-point line, a foot on the three-point line, to taking 6 steps past that just to account for her and her gravity alone with or without the ball. Angel and Camilla, guarding the 2 players that set the most screens for the Indiana Fever, and Alyssa Smith and Aaliyah Boston, were able to consistently buy time for the guards to navigate over those screens, flatten out those drives from Caitlin, make her play through contact, make her play through seeing all types of hands and help, so that her vision of the passing lanes that she's able to hit passes through, arguably as good as anybody not named Chelsea Gray in the W right now, they were able to just muddy those up and take away just enough to come away with the win to come back from a deficit. And again, that execution factor, like I know they did a lot of stuff on offense, but this game was won with their defense. To be able to come back from a deficit, you have to string together multiple stops in a row. And you have to do so multiple times through multiple stretches of stoppage of play, commercial timeouts, TV timeouts, all of that stuff. Yep. The way that they were able to sustain on the defensive end, that was an identity win. And it was pretty much a win that if anybody wasn't sure why Teresa Weatherspoon has them all 10 toes down, all chips on the table to the defensive side first. That fourth quarter alone is the template. They won that quarter 24-15, and that was the difference in the game right there.
I love it. Exactly what you said. That quote from our friend of the show, Kristen Braswell, a few weeks ago. Spoon said she liked where the team was and where they were heading. Folks questioned it because of the record. This team is so much more than that.
It's all process. It's all about the process.
And I think it's a camaraderie and chemistry thing, too. Angel talked about when Marina missed those foul shots. She went up to her and she said, you and Camila missing those free throws didn't lose us the game. We worked our asses off for this game. And I think she was kind of alluding to if there's anywhere we lost it, it was somewhere else. But it was not solely on y'all missing free throws. And we all understand you have to hit free throws in this professional basketball. But I love what she said there. It reminds me of something I would tell my roller derby team at the game. I was like, we did not win or lose the game today. We won or lost in practice. How we practiced, how we prepared is where we either won or where we lost. And I think that that's the ethos with this team. They are together. They are tight like this. Like Pat Riley said in Winning Time, they are together. And I want to see if I can find it. If we can throw it up, I was wondering if this team had a chance to enjoy summertime shy stuff because they're so you're playing second shift, third shift, and you got so much travel. But the Sky players were out on the boat on Sunday. They were enjoying that weather.
That was yesterday. That was yesterday.
That was yesterday? That was Monday?
Yesterday, yeah.
Okay, because Kennedy was out there playing Not Like Us. Marita was in the back. Bro, I was cracking up. Marita was in the back like, why are you like this? And she's like, yo, this is my shit right here. I love this
It's
song.
very, very clearly gets Kennedy turned up.
And you had L.A. out there, you had Dana out there on the boat. And
Kayla was out there with him.
If anybody in Chicago knows, if y'all are ever on those dating apps in the mid-2000s, you know that people are looking to you to say, hey, let me get a ride on the boat. Let me get a ride out on the boat. So the Sky were able to get a ride out on the boat with themselves. And I love it, too, because they were together. It's a place for them to have fun away from any prying eyes and really just chill out, kick it, and enjoy that W.
Yep. And I just want to quickly shout out a couple of the comments. We got one from our guy Christian, Mr. 808s for anybody that might not know him as Christian. If you don't know him as Christian, you know him as 808s on Twitter for sure. So shout out Christian. We appreciate you, bro. We also love what you're doing with the platform that you've established as well with Alfred and Jasmine as well. Keep doing y'all thing over there. But yeah, the big thing for me, just with everything that we're looking at with the starting lineup before we transition to anything else. Looking at Lindsey Allen and her impact with everything. So this season, just as an individual player, with Lindsey Allen on the floor, the Chicago Sky have a 105.7 offensive rating, which is the equivalent of third in terms of looking at team offensive ratings. That's the level that they're operating at. It's like the third best offense in the W when she's on the floor. And that's 10.4 points per 100 possessions better than when she's off the floor. And then you look at it inversely from the defensive side, which is where we left off before we had to pay the bills, 93.5 defensive rating. That's the equivalent of third in the WNBA as well. And without her on the floor, they're 13.5, almost 13.6 points per 100 possessions worse when she's not on the floor. So you look at it, just the impact from the point guard position more than anything else. You just really can't put a value on the little things that Lindsey does. Her drives are extremely important to everything. It's the timing at which she decides to attack. She has the ability to finish, but she has the ability to pass and generate advantages off of that. She's also very good with passing off of her drives, getting to Camila and Angel after engaging whoever it is that's defending those two at any given moment. And those things are just extremely important in process because when you have another player that was also inserted into the starting lineup in Kennedy Carter, who's as prolific a driver as it gets at the guard position. And if you add to that just her ability to finish at the basket with the uber athleticism that she has, in addition to her ability to pass and drive and kick scenarios, it makes for the perfect type of storm that you're generating. Again, when you have to be extremely detail-oriented with how you're operating on offense because of the inefficiencies that you have in terms of three-point shooting.
Yeah, and we come back to it. There was a quote earlier. There was a comment earlier from Mario. Get a 3-and-D shooter when we make the playoffs. Three-point shooting has to be a priority for this team, whether it's later in the season or the offseason. And I think they know that as much as we know that. Yep. But if you see this team with the front court that they have, get a three-point shooter. If they do decide to sign Kennedy to a multi-year extension,
I think she's earned that, by the way, already.
I believe so too. She honestly has. She's all-star caliber play.
Most
coming
improved.
off the season that she's had. Probably going to win that MIP. She's at least earned the negotiation for a 2-3 year deal. Mm-hmm. But you get a three-point shooter at some point because you do have to improve three-point shooting on this team. They're consistently bottom third in the league, if not last. But we're going to see that come through later in the season. There were a lot of celebrities at Sunday's games. Jason Sudeikis, who evidently skipped out on a conference at McCormick Place to come see the game, which I think speaks to the Sky. Teresa Weatherspoon's mission, whether she stated it in October to take over the city or, as she said on Sunday, to complement the city. I think that is going a long way to it. Lil Durk performing at halftime, Vic Mensa performing before the game.
Cheryl
Swoops was there, had a long exchange with Angel after the game. And I want to say this before we close out the show with that Kennedy Carter clip from the boat. The Sky players, I think, because of their commitment to Teresa Weatherspoon, are going to downplay that. You always ask, how's this game for you? And a lot of times they're going to say, it's another game on the schedule. But Angel Reese came out to half court right at the end of that game and shook and pumped her fist like this. Mm-hmm. And I know what that is. That is the fist pump of somebody who caught the last bus home before it ends for the night and you don't have to beg for a ride. That's the fist pump of somebody who got that college acceptance letter knowing it was the first one in their family. That's the fist pump of somebody who finally got over that hump. And whether they say it or not, that Indiana team was a hump for them. That was like when Lovie Smith came in and said job one is beat Green Bay. Right now the Sky have Indiana on their bulletin boards. Indiana is in their minds, especially because this is a Fever team that was better than the first two times that the Sky played them. So for the Sky to pull out that win, Angel knew what that meant. The whole team knew what that meant. And that's why she went to center court and did that no matter what anybody said in that postgame.
100%. I mean, they're both trending up. Both teams are trending up. They're both kind of on the same trajectory as far as being young teams that are trying to climb. They're not the best teams in the league, obviously, but they're both, on that climb. And as I said before, I mean, the rivalry isn't just Caitlin versus Angel and what they carried over from college. That has a big part in it. But it is the amount of eyes watching these games. I mean, you had the largest television audience in 23 years watching that game, and they won. That's a big deal. And they know. I know what it was like to stand at the free throw line when everybody was watching. It's a lot easier hitting them free throws. When I'm playing golf yesterday, I like golfing by myself because nobody's watching me. And then when I go out with my group of 8 guys and they're all chirping in my ear, it makes it a lot easier to hit those balls that you were hitting so perfectly by yourself, So when you got all them eyeballs on you, you want to shine brightest, right?
Yeah, and to Bragg's point, the league released a media or PR release to our emails letting us know that game had 2.3 million viewers. And if you look at it specifically during the game, like over intervals of it, the viewership peaked at 3.3 million. That's the most in 23 years across all networks for WNBA games. That's including finals, including playoffs. A lot of Hall of Famers over this stretch of years in 23 years that have gone and come and been at the peak of their powers going up against other players at the peak of theirs. This is a regular season game.
Yes.
It's not even mid-season yet. This has no implications that are crazy in terms of the standings either. And it's two of the youngest teams in the league as well. Like, it just speaks a lot to where both of these teams are. And I think, like Bragg said, the kind of thing I was looking at it from a lens of boxing. This was a matchup for two teams that are in the same weight class. They're at the same point in terms of their team's progress, and they're both trying to get to that next level pretty much on the same wavelength. That was very much I'm kicking yours over a checkmate type of matchup from the Chicago Sky, and they had the energy to match it.
Was that a chess boxing reference? Was that a Wu-Tang reference?
Wu-Tang, you know it, man.
You already know what it is, and I like that because what did I say when we sat down at the table? It's had a big fight feel on Sunday.
Yeah.
All the celebs in attendance, the stands were packed. A lot of people came from Indiana and Iowa. Shout out our friend Jay Dash. She said all those fans came from Indiana and paid $500 for tickets just to lose. Sorry to y'all. Y'all didn't get the discount when we had it up. But hit up Shady Rays, for that drive back. It'll get you hooked up.
That is a company man right there, ladies and gentlemen.
And my guy Zach Eady was there.
Yeah,
Quiet
I saw him on the elevator.
He was on the elevator.
Hey, all this love for everybody in the stands, but my guy Zach was hiding up in the rafters. I think they might have had him in a suite or something. Zach likes to
As
be
he
low
should have
key.
been. He's too tall. He would have been blocking
say,
Sure,
he
he
was
was
people.
blocking
row.
everybody.
Come
That's
on,
for
man.
sure. That's for sure.
I hope they put him in the suite and not up in the 200
Exactly.
level. That's a ways. Man.
He's low key. He don't. It wouldn't surprise me if he was
sure.
up top because he just likes to keep it low key. One time he was at a Pacers game, just sitting with all the fans with probably some Shady Rays on, acting like he was incognito, like nobody's gonna notice this
Right.
8-footer sitting.
Right.
We got one last comment in there from David Bresson. The Sky aren't messing around, and I can't wait for them to go toe-to-toe with the Aces on Thursday. That's what you have to look forward to. This Aces team is decidedly human this year, but part of that coming down to earth was the absence of Chelsea Gray. She's back in the lineup.
Point guard.
Asia Wilson is playing some of the best basketball of her career, which is amazing to say considering the season she's had the preceding 3. Kelsey Plum will be there. Jackie Young will be there, and that'll be another big test for the Sky on their home floor. So this Thursday night, come out, come watch on TV, come watch in the arena. If you see Steven or I, say hi. If you see anybody else with a CHGO Sky shirt on, give them a high five. Check us on CHGO_Sky on Twitter. Follow the man here at StayTrueS.3. Check allchgo.com for all of his work. Follow me at Quandary Kitten. That's KWANDARY Kitten. Follow the man here. What is it? Is it G Braggs?
You don't want to follow my nonsense.
Oh, okay. He said.
It's G Braggs Jr. 23, but you're just going to be getting a lot of Taco Bell tweets.
Everybody loves Taco Bell but
Hell
me,
yeah.
so that'll probably bring us more followers. This is the CHGO Sky Show, as always, presented by CHGO Sports and the All-City Sports Network. We're going to go out with Kennedy Carter right now because y'all know that we are like us. They are not like us.
Hell yeah, here it is.
We got to find it. You got it. I know, it's hard. I was like, even if you see him dancing, that's good.
Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, man. It's not letting me.
We all silly like the mayor.